By the time you're watching this video, it will probably already be official, and Donald Trump will no longer be our president of the United States. And maybe you're bummed out because of that. So I want to share with you some of the top things that I think Donald Trump and his presidency will be remembered for. And this is the positive take on this. So I know we'll stop right there. Internet, do what you got to do. Dislike, report, because I said Donald Trump and positive in the same sentence. But don't worry, a couple days later, I'm going to do the negatives. I got to be a balanced person. I got to be fair. So let's cover the positives first. So this is the regulation cuts that Donald Trump campaigned on, and this is why I think in part he won his first term, and he delivered on this promise 100%. Now, little disclaimer, I don't know if this photo is a little bit exaggerated in the sense that there weren't that many regulations on the right, and there's still are a lot of regulations on the left, right? Like maybe this is a little exaggerated to make him look better, but he absolutely did lower or decrease our regulations. So in case you don't know, it's ridiculous the amount of paperwork and loopholes you got to jump through if you want to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, and this is the land of opportunity. So I say, yeah, make it as easy as possible, right? That's my take. I think this is an absolute positive on his presidency. Next, you have the opportunity zones that they signed into law. This was during the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And an opportunity zone is this idea where you incentivize business owners, entrepreneurs, investors to go into these low income or marginalized communities and, well, do as I said, invest, build businesses, because they're given certain tax credits in the sense that, let's say they build that particular business in this area. Well, let's say for the first 10 years on that investment, they won't have to pay any federal income taxes. So they'll still have to pay the state and local taxes and then obviously payroll taxes, right? Because they're going to be hiring people. But this is great because I think we're going to see the benefits of it years to come, right? This obviously, you're not going to change things overnight. But when you get more people driving money into these low income communities, I think it's going to have a positive effect down the road. And I'm going to say, Donald Trump, hey, you delivered on it. And I hope it does work. I genuinely do hope it does work. Next, again, I mentioned the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, so this is the other part of it. He lowered taxes. And I know you're probably going to get someone that's going to say, well, Bernie Sanders said it's only the top 1%, right? Something like that. Well, right here, these are the marginal tax brackets for normal people. So if you were to, hopefully you're able to see, but if you just look between the left and the right, you have 2017, 2018. The tax brackets went, you have 10, 15, 25, 28, 33, 35, and then 39.6%. If you go to the right, well, it's still 10% for the bottom bracket, but then you get 12%, 22%, 24, 32%. So absolutely, there are certain tax brackets where they didn't get a tax break or a tax cut rather, but for the most of them, they absolutely did get tax cuts. So the reason why Democrats were always so, loud with saying, well, the money went to the top 1%. It was tax cuts for the rich. Well, yeah, dummies. When you pay more into the system and then we give tax breaks, you're going to get more back from it, right? You're going to get more of a return. So if you're paying 200 grand into the system versus 20 grand, the person who has the 200 grand is going to get more of a tax return. But that doesn't mean that the person that is getting the tax cut making 20K or whatever it was they put into it, that doesn't mean that their particular return is going to be breadcrumbs, as I think Nancy Pelosi says, right? Maybe you're living in your ivory towers for too long if you think a few extra $100 a month is breadcrumbs to Americans, because it actually is a pretty big amount. But moving on, because I guess I'll kind of end with this, with the tax cuts. When you lower taxes, the higher you go in the tax brackets, I believe you incentivize people to go out and make more money. Agree or disagree? That's just my take. But moving on, he didn't start any new wars. And I know you're probably going to say, well, what about when we bombed that Syrian air base? Yeah, okay. You can absolutely say that was, tensions were escalated, but we didn't deploy any troops, and that was a one-time thing. You can absolutely say things got a little scary, a little hairy. Totally agree with you. But again, he didn't start a war with them. There's nothing that came from that. Then you have, we got rid of, who was it? Al-Baghdadi and Soleimani. Again, we were already in those particular areas. I think one was in Iran, or I think both were in Iran. Don't quote me on it, or you can correct me, right? Because I'm all cool if I say something wrong. So we were already in these particular areas, and Democrats and liberals, they were all screaming when he got into office that he's going to have his finger on the nuclear button. We're going to go to nuclear war. Well, it never really happened. Actually, not really happened. It never happened, right? We're all still here. So, hey, he kept his word. He said he wasn't going to start any new wars, and gotta give him credit. No new wars were started. Moving on, gotta cover this. Trigger warnings. Donald Trump was, I mean, there's so many reasons why he was elected as our president, right, during his first term. And part of the reason is because people were fed up with the whole SJW, trigger warning, microaggressions. So they were like, you know what, we want a bull in a china closet. In these past 4 years, Donald Trump was our troll in chief. Okay, you could argue whether or not you thought it was presidential at times. Okay, I could agree with you there a little bit. But he was an absolute backlash on all those people. And I got to admit, it was very satisfying seeing people squirm. Okay, seeing all these people that always have their nose up in the air, like my politics are so much better than yours because I hit the moral high ground, or I'm virtue signaling. And like I said, he was just an absolute bull in a china closet, and it was fun to watch. I'm definitely going to miss part of that. That's part of the reason why I liked him. But moving on a little bit further, this is obviously getting back to a serious point. Well, there were some historic peace deals. There was really towards the end of his presidency. So in this particular photo, you have, this is between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, okay? So the UAE. And there were some other countries that also jumped along with this particular train as well. Again, getting back to the whole, he didn't start any new wars, and he actually brought a little more peace to the Middle East. It's no secret that it's kind of absolute mayhem in the Middle East. You got countries that actively hate one another based on, you know, their religion. One thinks they're occupying the other one's space. You know, you can get into who's to blame, but the idea of him being the middleman to say, okay, hey, you two countries, yo, settle your differences. You're done, right? We're all living in this together. Let's move forward. The fact that he was able to do that, that's going to be a positive in my book. Don't we all want peace? So I don't care who brings it, right? Hey, Trump, if this works out and it actually lasts, hey, you get a check mark in my book, brother. But last, I think the biggest highlight of his presidency is the fact that he nominated 3 Supreme Court justices. So he had Kavanaugh first and then Neil Gorsuch. And in this photo, you can see she's 2 seats in from the right. I hope I'm saying that right, but it's the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So unfortunately, she passed, and they replaced her with Amy Coney Barrett. So obviously they couldn't take a new Supreme Court photo, right, due to the virus going around. But he nominated 3 Supreme Court picks, and we're going to kind of have to wait and see whether or not they hold up to conservative or, you know, originalist values, if I'm pronouncing that right. You know, we'll have to wait and see, because again, it's a democratically controlled House, Senate, so they can push a lot of stuff through. So we're going to have to wait and see if this part of Trump's legacy holds up or not. But that's just my particular take on some of the positives of his presidency. You know, so you might disagree because you hate Trump, and hey, that's totally fine. But if you're someone that is, whether you're pro-Trump or you're someone that's kind of in the middle and you could see where he did good things, you could see where he did bad things, I want you to let me know if I missed anything. I want you to let me know if any of the things that I put in here should be, well, out of the video, right? Maybe they don't belong. But as always, I appreciate you checking out the video, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.